All right, so I would like to introduce you all to our speaker today. Her name is Gabriella Lehimjian Srour.
That's right. You got it.
Thank you. She is with ACES International as a senior communications manager and has been working in the association industry for 8 years. Mrs. Srour has been part of award-winning association and teams during her career and has worked as both a freelance consultant and employee. With care, fun, and a healthy dose of organization, Mrs. Srour leads and engages teams to achieve their goals. She has experience across public relations, communications, and marketing roles and joined YPAC as a volunteer in 2023. Gabriella grew up in Alexandria, Virginia, and attended Marymount University before gaining her master's degree from Georgetown University in journalism. All yours.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm thrilled to be here. So we've designed this Lunch and Learn to allow for plenty of Q&A time. So I wanted to share some tips that have worked for me in the hopes of inspiring you all and fostering good discussion amongst the group at the end. Advocating for yourself has many forms. And while we can't cover them all in this session, I wanted to highlight a few. It could pertain to interviewing for a new job, asking for a promotion, setting boundaries for work-life balance, or pitching new ideas. And I'm going to share some tips for each of these situations. The big takeaway I want you to remember when advocating for yourself in various situations is to do your research and be prepared. So what does that mean? Moving on to the next slide. Next slide. Perfect. Okay, so before starting a new job, you want to make sure people are able to research you and that what they hear about you is good. You never want to burn a bridge. As Maya Angelou said, people will remember how you made them feel. So how can you ensure that they hear good things and remember good things? Be mindful about what you post on social media. This is obvious. Also, get people to endorse you on LinkedIn. Send handwritten notes to coworkers whenever you can. You could send a thank you note if someone was extra helpful on a project, or a congratulations if they're celebrating a big milestone, or a sympathy card if they're going through a difficult time. People are going to remember these things and appreciate you for it. And lastly, be yourself. You don't have to be everyone's bestie, but they should be able to respect you. Next slide. How can you research? Oh, I'm sorry. Too soon. How can you research people and companies? So you can research people and companies the way they research you by looking on Glassdoor, looking at your potential boss's endorsements on LinkedIn, and then sending a handwritten thank you note after your first interview. If there are going to be multiple rounds and they'll have time to get it before making their decision. Otherwise, sending a thank you note via email is fine. Case study example. When I was interviewing for a job I was really interested in, I called an ex-coworker who I knew was close with the CEO at the potential new place. I asked her how he liked it, if she thought I would be a good fit based on the type of culture that he was building. She said she had heard really good things about the staff from him, and then also a few of our previous coworkers had gone on to work with him too. I found out after I got the job that 5 minutes after we hung up, he had called her to ask her opinion of me. She said they'd be lucky to have me. Now, I'm not saying that that sealed the deal for me, but it certainly didn't hurt. I was doing my research, and so were they. Moving on to the interviewing slide. So when interviewing, you want to research the company, know what they do and how they do it. But more specifically, know how they execute your potential role. I would compliment them on an aspect of their business strategy and also be prepared to pitch them a new idea that you're bringing to the role, maybe something that you could approve upon. Case study example. When I interviewed for a marketing position at a high-end golf club, I not only learned the general bio of the course, but I studied their social channels, website, and newsletters. First, I complimented them on the photography of their social media during my interview. But I noticed that they weren't posting consistently and they weren't syncing their social media with what they were featuring on their website and their newsletter. And I then described how I would be able to do that for them. Now, in terms of negotiating your salary, you want to research what the typical salary and benefits package is and come prepared with what you're willing to accept. And don't be afraid to pin one interview against another. Case study example. When I interviewed for this golf course, they brought me in for 3 interviews. By the third, I was over it. I wanted to know if I was getting it or not. So I asked them when I could expect to hear back, because I actually had another interview after that one, that same day, and I wanted to be prepared to have an answer in case the other place offered me the job on the spot. They didn't need to know it was only my first interview at the other place. So by the time I got in my car, they upped their offer and told me they wanted me to accept right away. But I said, I'm a woman of my word, and I wouldn't be disrespectful of another appointment, and I had to go to my other interview, but I would let them know by that evening. I went into my next interview confident, of course. And then I actually realized that that was the job that I wanted. This was a law firm. So I told them my situation. I said, listen, I want to work here. This is where I want to be. But the other place is offering me 4K more. They said they couldn't pay me that salary, but they could offer me a 2K signing bonus to split the difference. And I accepted right away. Moving on to setting boundaries. So you want to research what the real working hours are like and what the goals are that you're expected to accomplish. But during the interview process is the time to do this. In the case of time, ask if you should be expected to check Zoom and reply to Zoom or email after hours or while on PTO. In the case of goals, ask how your success will be tracked. Your goals should be measurable. And once you're in a job, people will get used to what you give them. So give wisely and never overshare with a coworker. If you feel your time or your work isn't being respected, then go to the next person up that could help you. Case study example. My boss often works after hours, but doesn't expect me to. He knows I don't check Zoom or email after work. If there is an emergency, he knows he can text me. That's our understanding, and it works great. In almost 4 years, he's only texted me twice. And in the case of goals, we have a list of goals that we agree on at the start of the fiscal year with a measurable list for success laid out. That makes my annual process for review smooth and easy. Now, if you're asked to take on additional responsibilities to your agreed upon job listing, ask how long it's going to be for. If it's for an extended period of time or indefinitely, then you should ask for additional compensation because this is going to be outside of your agreed upon position. However, if it's a random request or an emergency, be a team player and pitch in because a good leader is going to appreciate you for that and reward you for it in the end. Now, moving on to asking for a promotion. You want to research how much the average salary is for your potential new role that you're going for in a similar sized association, as well as the additional benefits package that's offered. You want to be prepared, again, with what you're willing to accept. What's the lowest pay increase you would be comfortable with? And if more compensation isn't an option, maybe more PTO could work for you, or more remote days. And you want to get prepared a year in advance. Before asking for a promotion, have deliverables ready in your pocket to back up your ask. You can do this by creating a list of measurable goals with your boss at the start of the year, like I mentioned I do with mine. You want to create monthly reports of the projects that you're working on featuring metrics. And you can apply for relevant awards from reputable associations for projects you've worked on. If you win any of those awards, those are metrics that you can add. Case study example. So as I mentioned, I lay out my goals with my boss at the start of the year. And after revamping our social strategy at ASIS, I started sending monthly reports on our campaign metrics to the staff. And I included industry benchmarks to provide context. Each year, I also applied and won several awards for mine and my team's work over the years. Now, in my case, when I received my promotion a year ago, my boss had already put me up to it with HR. One, because he's awesome, and also because we already had all the success documented through the goals list. Monthly reports, leadership was getting those, and everyone had known about the awards that we had won. Now, moving on to pitching new ideas. I know this can be scary, but again, if you do your research and you're prepared, it'll be fine. So research industry best practices and benchmarks, and come prepared to explain how your idea is in line with them. Have a plan in place to monitor your success or stumbles so you can change course in a timely manner. Case study example. My monthly reports have done this for me whenever I've tried new campaigns on social media. I'm able to track the progress and adjust accordingly if need be, and it's worked out great. Now, I've included some additional information on the next slide for some more articles that you might find of interest, that you might find helpful, but I want to go ahead and open it up for questions and any thoughts that you want to share. Let's see. It looks like there's some questions I see from Marielle. I always feel so weird about asking for endorsements on LinkedIn. How do you do it? So I actually had a previous boss of mine ask for an endorsement from me when they were looking for a new job. And she and I were we've always had a good relationship. I look to her as one of my mentors. And she said, oh, there's this new feature, would you mind? And I said, of course, absolutely. I mean, it's really just as simple as saying, I really appreciate the time that we had working together. And it would mean a lot to me if you would endorse me on LinkedIn. It only takes a minute or two. Let's see. How do you address salary conversations when at the beginning it's expressed there isn't much room to negotiate? So typically, I feel like most jobs that we see online, right? There's going to be a salary range listed. If not, again, if you kind of look at industry reports and see for this type of association, this size association for this level of position, they typically, this is what they pay. That's the first step, because you want to make sure that what they're offering and what you're asking is fair, right? Now, if there isn't much room to negotiate, you're just going to have to decide if it's fair, then it's fair, right? And that is what it is. If it's not enough for you, then I would look into another position, right? So it just kind of depends on if it's fair. If it's not fair, then it would depend on how much you want to work for them and what are some other maybe additional benefits that you could try and negotiate. Like I mentioned, like, okay, you can't pay me more, but what about more PTO or more remote days? Follow-up specific tools you look at salaries. Okay, so there's a lot of ways that you could research this. I've honestly Googled sometimes, but I've also used my network. We all have those kind of good, solid relationships we've built in the industry. Even if you haven't been working that long, you at least have maybe like an old teacher or an old boss or something like that you could reach out to say, I looked online, I couldn't find anything. I'm looking for advice. Honestly, when in doubt, phone a friend. Let me see, James. My organization doesn't have a formal review process and doesn't believe in metrics to track performance. Okay. What or how would you recommend advocating for success without a formal structure in place? So this is a really good question. I would say, I noticed that you all don't have a formal review process in place. However, in order for me to ensure I am meeting your expectations and I am keeping myself accountable for my responsibilities here. This is what I would like to propose. And write down your own list of goals and measurable, like 2 or 3 ways that you can track if, you're doing it or not. And basically kind of force their hand, because this is best practice. If places aren't doing this already, they really should. And it's helping protect you to show your value and your contribution, but it's also helping them because they're able to see, yeah, this person is doing what they're paying, what we're paying them for. So I would just kind of go for it. You're welcome. So thank you so much for adding that, John. If you're not following the chat, John sent an article or sent a good book recommendation about goal setting if your organization doesn't do that. And ASAE offers data points too. Fantastic. Were there any questions I missed? Don't think so.
While we
Does
have a little bit of maybe downtime here, I just wanted to chime in on some of the upcoming events that YPAC has going, but definitely keep putting your questions in the chat during this little intermission here. So ASAE Aspiring C-Suite Leadership Summit is coming up on March 7th for the 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time with an in-person workshop, or there's also February 29th at 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m., which is a virtual component. You can also do both. Again, because one is virtual, one's in person. So definitely check that out. We'll put the link in the chat if you're interested, and additional YPAC events that are also coming up. For Wednesday, March 27 from 12 to 12:30, another Lunch and Learn, Managing Up with Genevieve Borello. On Thursday, April 11th at 12:30, we have part 1 of the YPAC Learning Series. And on Monday, April 22nd at 12:30, we have part 2 of the YPAC Learning Series, Strategic Practices in Association Management. So definitely look out for those. Again, please continue to put questions and stuff in the chat because we still have a couple minutes here.
And even if you don't have a question, thoughts too that you want to share that we can kind of open up the discussion for the larger group. Let's see, Haley, any advice for managers? Do you want to explain that a little bit further, Haley?
Yeah, sorry, I was just trying to type an additional follow-up. In terms of advocating for your staff.
Yeah, so I feel like me and my boss are a great example of this, because like I said, before I even brought up, I've been here a couple years, I feel like I've been doing really well, meeting all these goals, check, 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 winning awards, all of these things. I feel like I want more responsibility and I'm looking for a promotion. He actually presented that to me. So I feel like the same way that, I said to make sure that you have goals in place and everything like that for yourself, go for awards, that kind of thing, keep track of your progress through reports that you send to leadership. I feel like you can encourage your staff to do the same, right? So if your organization doesn't have a set kind of formal review process, maybe that's something that you just set up between you and them, right? If typically your organization doesn't apply for awards, maybe that's something that you should include in your budget. Typically, they're like not more than $250, $300 an award, so it's not crazy steep. So it's not like a huge ask, right? And then also figuring out what kind of reporting you can do on a monthly basis. That doesn't mean you necessarily have to send it out to the entire staff every month. Maybe it's more like a quarter or twice a year, but at least amongst yourselves so you can keep track, Okay, so this is anonymous. My association is going through a really difficult time publicly. What are some ways to navigate the difficulty while still managing positive advocacy for yourself when your morale and your general morale is low for staff? It's tough, right? I think that it depends on what you are looking for, because an association going through a difficult time, maybe it's financially, right? Maybe there's a lot of change up at the top leadership and you almost don't know who to ask, right? Maybe if it's a financial thing, there's the question of money, and so you don't really have, there's no money to ask for. So it's kind of hard. It really is going to be a case by case basis. If you feel like you just need a way to, let's see, okay. It's PR, leadership change, articles in major publications, etc. Okay. So I feel like that is going to be maybe more just for your own personal like balance, right? Is that what you're asking? And you can reply in the chat to just me. But if you just feel like it's really stressful and you're figuring out how to advocate for just a little bit of balance or relief, yes, okay, personal balance, that's what they're asking. So I think it's all about routines, right? I think, it's about the little things. And this was actually something that I heard from an ASAE session I attended last year, which was it's the little tiny routines you build in your day. So for me, it's exercising. I have to exercise 5 days a week. I get up early, I get it over with. Sometimes it's hard to get up, but at the end, I feel like I did that one little hard thing and it was better for me. And I feel like if I accomplished nothing else that day, I did that. Sometimes it's, I know that when I have my coffee or my tea or whatever in the morning, that is my time. And that 15, 20, 30 minutes, whether I have to get up earlier or whatever, I leave my phone in the other room, that is my time to just have my moment. Some people meditate, some people pray, some people journal, some people sit in silence and just look at the trees. I think you just got to figure out the little joys that work for you and make sure they're a part of your daily routine. We have, okay, another anonymous question. Do you recommend all professionals create a LinkedIn page if trying to grow professionally, or is it possible to be successful without one? Personally, I think LinkedIn is key because not necessarily for the connections. I mean, I know depending on your job, it can be very useful, but for me, it's just a way. What if you meet someone at a networking event and they want to learn more about you, but they're not going to email you and say, Gabriella, please send me your resume. I think you could be great for this. Or I don't have a job, but I just kind of want to stalk you right now. Like, it's an opportunity for you to put your experience and your accomplishments out there into the universe. Even if it's not about seeing who you know and who they know, it's just a nice platform to be able to showcase yourself professionally. Any other questions, thoughts? I hope that so far this has been helpful. I know it's hard when, half the answers are like, it depends on the situation, but let's see. I resisted getting a LinkedIn page for years, but it really helped me out with connecting with colleagues at different organizations. Yes. So 100%. Funny enough, I actually got connected to a representative from another organization who saw the ad for this presentation today and said, we would be interested in you speaking at our career fair. And then we're kind of discussing that right now. So I can't give details because it isn't 100% finalized, but once it is, it'll be on my LinkedIn page. But I had never met this person before and they reached out to me. So, perfect example. Let's see. Anonymous, do you recommend all professionals create a LinkedIn page if trying to grow professionally, or is it possible? Oh, did we? Thought we had that question already, but somehow it just came back to me. So yes, to answer it again, I would recommend that you create a LinkedIn page because it's a great opportunity for you to showcase yourself. Okay, Anonymous, what about how to deal with a boss who reacts poorly to you advocating for yourself or just in general does not support you the way that you need? Okay, this can be tricky, obviously. Thankfully, I haven't personally had to deal with this. But what I would do in that situation is I would find somebody else, maybe the next person up in the association, that you can kind of look to as a mentor. So not that you're necessarily coming to them to quote unquote complain, right? Because I know we never want to feel like, oh, let me step over this person and talk about how bad, my relationship is with them. But more just coming to them to say, I respect you. I value your professionalism. I'm having a hard time because of X, Y, and Z. And I can't obviously discuss this with my supervisor because this is the person I'm having trouble with. How would you recommend I move forward? How have you experienced anything like this in your career? Kind of, again, phone a friend. And if you feel like there's no one within your organization that you could reach out to as a mentor and then could potentially have some influence to make a change for you, then I would reach out to, colleagues and friends that you trust professionally to say, this is what I'm going through. What would you do? Or has this happened to you? What have you done? And go from there. You just have a minute left. So I don't know if there are any last minute questions before we wrap up. And anonymous is fine. A lot of them have been anonymous. That's okay. No? You're so welcome. Thank you all for joining us. It was truly a pleasure to be here, and feel free to find me on LinkedIn, send me a message, we can connect and, talk further. And yeah, this was wonderful. Thank you so much again.
Yes, thank you so much, Gabriella. And if you enjoyed today's session and want to review it at a later time, you can always do so by visiting the YPAC's YouTube. This will likely be uploaded hopefully by the end of this week. But yeah, so thank you all for joining us, and check the comments for the links to the upcoming YPAC events, including the ASAE Aspiring C-Suite Leadership Summit.
Thanks, guys.